The bus rolled through the gates of Fort Benning just after dawn. Inside, 43 new recruits sat in nervous silence. Some stared out the windows. Others checked their phones one last time before the real world disappeared for the next 10 weeks. In the back row, pressed against the window, sat Maya Rodriguez. She was 5 feet 2 inches tall, 108 pounds soaking wet. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her brown eyes watched the training grounds roll past with quiet intensity. This was it. The moment she'd been working toward for 2 years. The bus jerked to a stop. The doors hissed open, and then the yelling began. "Off my bus! Move! Move! Move!" Drill Sergeant Kaler stood at the door like a wall of muscle and fury. His voice could crack concrete. His eyes scanned each recruit like a predator sizing up prey. The recruits scrambled out, boots hitting pavement, bodies colliding in the chaos. Maya moved fast, but her legs were shorter than everyone else's. She had to take 3 steps for every 2 of theirs. "Line up! Shoulders back! Eyes forward!" They formed crooked lines on the yellow footprints painted on the asphalt. Maya found her spot between 2 men who towered over her. The guy on her right was at least 6'3", built like a linebacker. He glanced down at her and smirked. "You sure you're in the right place, sweetheart?" he whispered. "Daycare's across the street," a few others heard. Quiet laughter rippled through the line. Maya didn't respond. She kept her eyes forward, jaw tight, breathing steady. Drill Sergeant Kaler paced in front of them like a tiger. "You think you're soldiers? You're nothing! You're soft, weak, pathetic. For the next 10 weeks I own you. I will break you down and build you back up if you're strong enough to survive." He stopped. His eyes landed on Maya. The entire formation seemed to hold its breath. Kaler walked slowly toward her, boots clicking on pavement. He stopped directly in front of her, so close she could see her reflection in his sunglasses. "What's your name, recruit?" "Rodriguez, Drill Sergeant." "Rodriguez." He drew out her name like he was tasting something sour. "You look like a strong wind could blow you away. Why are you here?" "To serve my country, Drill Sergeant." "To serve." He repeated her words with mock thoughtfulness. Then he raised his voice so everyone could hear. "This little girl thinks she can keep up with the men. Thinks she can carry a 60-pound ruck. Thinks she can run 5 miles in full gear." More laughter. Louder this time. Maya's fists clenched at her sides, but her face remained stone. Kaler leaned in closer. "You're gonna quit in 3 days. I've seen 100 like you. They all quit." "No, Drill Sergeant. I won't quit. We'll see." He moved on. But the damage was done. She'd been marked. Singled out. The entire unit now saw her as the weak link. The first day was chaos. Paperwork, medical checks, uniform issue, haircuts. The men got buzzed. Maya's hair was already regulation length, but they made her sit in the chair anyway. Just to prove a point, that night in the barracks, she lay in her bunk listening to the whispers. She'll be gone by week 1. No way she makes it through the obstacle course. Why do they even let girls in combat units? The voice belonged to the linebacker from the bus. His name was Garrett, former college football star. He'd already made himself the unofficial leader of the male recruits. "I'm just saying," Garrett continued, his voice carrying across the dark barracks. "We're gonna have to carry her weight. When she can't finish a march, when she falls out of a run, guess who suffers? All of us." Maya stared at the bunk above her. Every muscle in her body ached. Her feet were blistered, her shoulders raw from where the duffel bag had dug in, but she didn't cry. Wouldn't cry. She'd heard it all before. Growing up in a small town in West Texas, she'd been the smallest kid in every class. The coaches never picked her for teams. The boys never took her seriously. Even her own father had laughed when she said she wanted to join the army. "Mija," he'd said, shaking his head, "you're too small for that life. Find a nice job. Get married. Be realistic." But Maya had never been interested in realistic. She'd been running since she was 7 years old. Every morning before school, every evening after homework, through the desert heat and the winter cold, mile after mile after mile. Running was the one thing where size didn't matter, where heart mattered more than height. She'd run track in high school, but there was no team, no coach, no support. So she trained herself, studied running techniques on YouTube, learned about pacing, breathing, endurance. By senior year, she was running a 6-minute mile, then 5:40, then 5:20, but no one noticed. No one cared, until the Army recruiter came to her high school job fair. Sergeant First Class Williams. A woman, tall, strong, confident. She'd looked at Maya, really looked at her, and saw something others missed. "You've got fire in your eyes," Williams had said. "The Army needs people with fire." That was 2 years ago. Maya had enlisted the day after graduation. But she'd requested infantry. Combat arms. The hardest path possible. Everyone told her no. Wrong choice. Too difficult. Pick something safer. But Maya didn't want safe. She wanted to prove that she belonged. That size meant nothing. That heart meant everything. Now lying in that bunk at Fort Benning, surrounded by men who'd already decided she would fail, Maya made herself a promise. She would not quit. She would not fail. She would show them what 5'2" of pure determination looked like. The lights would come on in 4 hours. The real training would begin. The obstacle courses. The marches. The runs, and that's when everything would, change. Because what Garrett and Kaler and all the others didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that Maya Rodriguez had a secret. She wasn't just fast, she was the fastest person most of them would ever meet, and in 3 days, they were going to find out. The first week was designed to break them. 4:30 wake-up calls. Physical training before sunrise. Push-ups in the mud. Sit-ups until their abs screamed. Pull-ups that left their hands bleeding, and running. Always running. The first platoon run happened on day 3. 2 miles in formation. The drill sergeant set a moderate pace, about 8:30 per mile. Easy for some, torture for others. Maya stayed in the middle of the pack. Not leading. Not falling behind, just there, breathing steady. Legs pumping. Face expressionless. She could have gone faster. Much faster. But something told her to wait. To watch. To learn who the real runners were and who was barely hanging on. Garrett ran near the front, his long legs eating up ground. He looked back once, spotted Maya, and shook his head like she was a lost cause. 3 recruits fell out before the finish. 2 men and 1 woman. They bent over on the side of the road, gasping, defeated. Drill Sergeant Kaler walked past them without a word, but his expression said everything. Weak, pathetic, quitters. That evening, those 3 were gone. Recycled to another unit or sent home entirely. Nobody said goodbye. In the Army, failure was silent and swift. See that? Garrett said loudly in the barracks that night. 3 down already. Wonder who's next. His eyes drifted to Maya's bunk. She ignored him. Focused on cleaning her rifle. Every part disassembled, oiled, reassembled, perfect, precise. But the message was clear. He was waiting for her to fail. Day 5 brought the obstacle course. 12 stations of pure hell. Rope climbs, wall scaling, low crawls under barbed wire, monkey bars, a cargo net 3 stories high. The recruits lined up at dawn. Drill Sergeant Kaler stood at the start with a stopwatch and a clipboard. Next to him stood Drill Sergeant Morrison, a woman built like a tank with eyes like steel. "Listen up," Kaler barked. "This course will show me who has heart and who has excuses. I don't care about your size. I don't care about your background. I care about results. You have 12 minutes to complete this course or you fail. Questions?" Silence. "Garrett, you're first." The big linebacker stepped up, confident, cocky. He attacked the course like he was back on the football field. Powered through the rope climb. Vaulted the walls. His upper body strength carried him through most obstacles. Time, 10 minutes, 40 seconds. Acceptable. Kaler shouted, "Next!" One by one, the recruits attempted the course. Some passed. Many failed. The rope climb destroyed people. The wall scaling broke others. The monkey bars, slick with morning dew, sent recruit after recruit crashing into the sand below. Then it was Maya's turn. She stepped to the line. Took a breath. Around her, recruits whispered, "No way she gets over that wall. The rope climb's gonna kill her. I give her 3 obstacles." Kaler clicked his stopwatch. "Go!" Maya exploded forward. The first obstacle was a low crawl under barbed wire, 75 feet of mud and misery. Her small frame worked in her favor here. She moved like a snake, fast and low, while bigger recruits had to flatten themselves painfully. She emerged covered in mud. Didn't slow down. Next, the rope climb. 15 feet straight up. This was where her lack of upper body strength should have ended her. The men could muscle their way up. But Maya weighed 108 pounds. She didn't need massive strength, she needed technique. She jumped, grabbed the rope, wrapped her legs around it in a perfect J-hook, and climbed using her entire body, not just her arms. Smooth, efficient. She reached the top in seconds and slid down the other side. Kaler's eyebrows raised slightly. Morrison actually smiled, wall scaling, 6 feet high, no rope, no help. Maya ran at it full speed, planted one foot halfway up and used her momentum to grab the top and pull herself over. Parkour technique she'd learned from videos. The bigger guys had to jump and struggle. She made it look easy. Monkey bars. The killer. Upper body endurance. Grip strength. Maya's hands were small. The bars were wet. She made it halfway across before her grip started slipping. Her forearms burned. Below her, recruits watched with anticipation, waiting for her to fall. Don't fall. Don't you dare fall. She gritted her teeth, swung faster, used momentum instead of fighting gravity. Hand over hand over hand. Her right palm slipped on the second-to-last bar, but she caught it with her fingertips, swung hard, and grabbed the final bar with both hands. She dropped to the ground and kept running. Cargo net. 3 stories of rope lattice. Climb up one side, down the other. Heights didn't scare her. She climbed like a spider, fingers finding holds, feet finding purchase. At the top, she paused for just a second. The whole base spread out below her. The sun breaking over the horizon. Golden and beautiful. Then she descended and sprinted for the finish. Kaler clicked the stopwatch. Time. 9 minutes, 52 seconds. The watching recruits went silent. 9:52. That was nearly a minute faster than Garrett. Maya stood at the finish line, chest heaving, covered head to toe in mud and sweat. She looked like she'd been through a war. But she was standing, chin up. Eyes forward, Kaler walked over slowly. Studied her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. Where'd you learn to climb like that, Rodriguez? YouTube, drill sergeant. A few recruits laughed nervously. Kaler's face remained stone. YouTube, he repeated. You trained yourself. Yes, drill sergeant, he nodded once. Just once, it wasn't praise. But it wasn't mockery either. It was acknowledgement. That night, the atmosphere in the barracks shifted. Not much, just a degree or two. A few recruits nodded at Maya when she walked past. One guy, a quiet kid from Montana named Chen, said, "Nice run today," as she sat down for chow. But Garrett wasn't impressed. If anything, he seemed angrier. You got lucky, he said, loud enough for others to hear. The course was wet. Easier for lightweights. Wait till we do a real ruck march. See how you handle 60 pounds for 12 miles. Maya didn't respond, just ate her food, drank her water. Prepared for tomorrow, but inside something had ignited, a quiet, burning determination. She'd proven she could handle the obstacles. Now she had to prove she could handle everything else. The ruck march was scheduled for day 9. 12 miles, 60-pound packs, full gear, 3-hour time limit. It was designed to break bodies and spirits, to separate the strong from the weak, and Garrett was right about one thing. 60 pounds on a 108-pound frame was a massive disadvantage. That was more than half her body weight. The math was brutal. For Garrett, who weighed 220, 60 pounds was barely a quarter of his weight. The night before the march, Maya lay in her bunk doing calculations in her head, adjusting her pack distribution, planning her pace, visualizing every step of those 12 miles. She would need to be perfect. No wasted energy, no mistakes. Across the barracks, Garrett was holding court, surrounded by his growing group of followers. Tomorrow's the real test, he said. Tomorrow we find out who belongs here and who doesn't. His eyes found Maya in the darkness. She stared right back, unflinching. The message was clear. Tomorrow was war. Dawn came cold and gray. The recruits assembled in the darkness, their rucksacks lying on the ground like sleeping animals. 60 pounds each, perfectly weighted and inspected. Maya stared at hers. She'd packed it 5 times the night before, redistributing weight, making sure the heaviest items sat high and close to her spine. Every ounce positioned for maximum efficiency. But 60 pounds was still 60 pounds. Listen up. Drill Sergeant Kaler's voice cut through the morning air. 12 miles. 3 hours. You fall below pace, you fail. You drop your ruck, you fail. You quit, you're done. This isn't a game. This is combat preparation. In the real world, the enemy doesn't care if you're tired. Questions? Silence. Ruck's on. Maya bent down, grabbed the straps, and heaved the pack onto her shoulders. The weight slammed into her like a truck. Her knees buckled slightly before she locked them. The shoulder straps dug in immediately. The hip belt cinched tight. Around her, the men grunted as they shouldered their packs. For them, it was heavy. For Maya, it was crushing. Column formation. Move out! They started walking. Not running, not yet. A fast walk that would turn into a shuffle jog called the airborne shuffle, the pace that 8 miles and destroyed feet. The first 2 miles were manageable. Maya found her rhythm. Short steps, quick cadence, breathing steady. The pack felt like another person sitting on her shoulders, but she'd expected that. Garrett walked near the front with his crew, their long legs covering ground easily. Every few minutes he'd glance back at Maya, waiting for her to fall out. She didn't. Mile 3. The sun rose, bringing heat. Sweat soaked through uniforms. The weight that felt heavy at the start now felt impossible. Maya's shoulders screamed. Her lower back ached. Blisters were forming on her heels, but she kept moving. Mile 4. The first recruit fell out. A big guy from Ohio. He stumbled to the side of the road, dropped his ruck, and bent over gasping. Drill Sergeant Morrison didn't even slow down, just made a mark on her clipboard. 1 down. Mile 5. 2 more fell out. Their bodies simply gave up. The weight and pace and heat combined into something their minds couldn't overcome. Maya's vision started to narrow. Tunnel vision. A bad sign. She forced herself to look up, to breathe deeper, to take in more oxygen. Keep moving. Just keep moving. Mile 6, halfway. The turnaround point. Kaler stood at a checkpoint with a water station. 2 minutes. Hydrate and keep moving. Maya grabbed a paper cup with shaking hands, drained it, grabbed another. The water tasted like life itself. Around her, recruits collapsed against trees, desperate for rest. Garrett stood tall, barely winded. He caught Maya's eye and smirked. Surprised you made it this far, Rodriguez. But the back half breaks everybody. She crushed the paper cup and tossed it in the trash. Didn't waste breath on a response. Move out, Kaler shouted. The second half was hell. Every step was agony. The blisters on Maya's heels had burst and bled into her socks. Her shoulders were raw meat under the straps. Her hip bones felt bruised from the belt. But worse than the pain was the math. She was falling behind. Her shorter legs meant more steps. More steps meant more energy. More energy meant faster exhaustion. It was simple physics, and physics didn't care about determination. Mile 7. She dropped from the middle of the pack to the back third. Mile 8. Only a few recruits were behind her now. And they looked finished. Garrett had moved even further ahead. He was going to finish strong, probably well under 3 hours. Proof in his mind that men were superior. Maya's breathing was ragged now. Her legs felt like concrete. The pack seemed to grow heavier with each step, like it was feeding on her exhaustion. A terrible thought crept in. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe they're right. She shook her head violently. No quitting. Mile 9. One of the recruits behind her dropped. Just stopped walking and sat down on the side of the road. Gave up. Maya passed him. Kept moving, but she was in trouble. Real trouble. Her pace had slowed to barely faster than a walk. At this rate, she might not make the 3-hour cutoff. Drill Sergeant Morrison appeared beside her, matching her pace. Rodriguez, you gonna make it? Maya couldn't spare the breath to answer. Just nodded. Your shoulders are bleeding through your uniform. Another nod. Morrison was quiet for a moment. Then, I was 5'3" at basic. 99 pounds. Everyone said I'd fail. Maya glanced at her. Morrison was built like a warrior now. Solid muscle. Pure strength. I finished this march dead last, Morrison continued. Crossed the line with 30 seconds to spare. Thought I was done. Thought I'd proven nothing. She paused. But I finished. That's what mattered. Finishing. She pulled ahead, leaving Maya alone with her pain. Mile 10. Only 2 miles left. 40 minutes to make the time. Maya's body was shutting down. Her mind was screaming at her to stop. But something deeper, something that had been forged in years of running alone through the Texas desert, refused to listen. She thought about her father's laughter when she enlisted. The recruiter who said she'd never make it through infantry training. Garrett's smirk. Kaler's prediction that she'd quit in 3 days. Every doubt. Every insult. Every person who'd underestimated her. She turned it all into fuel. Mile 11. 1 mile left. 20 minutes. She could see the finish point in the distance. A flag marking the end. Several recruits had already finished. They stood watching, waiting to see who else would make it. Maya's legs were numb now, moving on autopilot, left, right, left, right. The pack didn't feel heavy anymore. She didn't feel anything anymore. She was beyond pain, beyond exhaustion. She was pure will. The finish flag grew closer, closer. 15 minutes left. Half a mile to go. She started counting steps. 100 steps. Then another 100. Then another. Garrett stood at the finish line with his arms crossed, watching her struggle. "Come on, Rodriguez," someone shouted. Chen, the quiet kid from Montana. "You got this!" A few others joined in. "Push, push!" But Garrett said nothing, just watched with cold eyes. Maya's vision blurred, sweat and tears and exhaustion mixing together. Her lungs burned. Her heart hammered. 100 feet, 50 feet, 25. She crossed the finish line and immediately collapsed. Hands caught her, lowered her down. Someone unbuckled her ruck and lifted it away. The sudden absence of weight felt like flying. "Time," Kaler's voice. 2 hours, 56 minutes, 40 seconds. She'd made it, with less than 4 minutes to spare. But she'd made it. Maya lay on her back, staring at the sky, chest heaving. Every inch of her body screamed. But she'd finished. Morrison appeared above her, extended a hand. "On your feet, soldier." Maya grabbed it and stood on shaking legs. Around her, the recruits who'd finished clapped. Not everyone. Garrett and his crew stayed silent. But enough people clapped that it mattered. Chen walked over with a canteen. "Dude, that was insane." Maya drank, then managed. "Did everyone finish?" 11 fell out. 32 made it. "You were second to last," he grinned. "But you made it. Second to last, it stung." But finishing was finishing. That night, Maya could barely move. Her shoulders were bandaged. Her feet were wrapped. She'd lost 3 pounds in a single day, but she was still here. The other recruits who'd finished the march looked at her differently now. Not with respect exactly, but not with mockery either. She'd earned something, a small something, but it was hers. Garrett, however, seemed even more determined to break her. "You barely made it," he said as the barracks settled for the night. "Barely doesn't count in combat. When we do the PT test next week, there's no barely. You either pass or you're done." Maya closed her eyes. "The PT test. The final evaluation before graduation. Push-ups, sit-ups, and a 5-mile run. Everything came down to that run." Garrett continued. 5 miles in 40 minutes. That's an 8-minute per mile pace. Think you can handle that, Rodriguez? Because I'm running it in 35. Gonna set the unit record." Silence filled the barracks. Maya opened her eyes and stared at the ceiling. A 5-mile run. That was her territory. That was where size didn't matter, where her years of training would finally mean something. That was where she would show them who she really was. "We'll see," she whispered. But nobody heard her. Nobody except Drill Sergeant Morrison, who stood in the doorway in the shadows listening, and Morrison smiled. The next 6 days were torture, not because of the training. Maya had survived the worst of that, but because of the waiting, the anticipation. Every hour that ticked by brought her closer to the PT test, closer to the moment that would define everything. Garrett spent those days talking, constantly talking. 35 minutes, he said during chow. "That's my goal. 7-minute miles. Rodriguez can't even dream of that. I'm gonna smoke this test," he bragged in the barracks. "Show everyone how it's done." His confidence was infectious. His crew fed off it. They walked around like they'd already won, like the test was just a formality. But Maya stayed quiet, spent her free time stretching, visualizing, preparing. Morrison caught her alone one evening behind the barracks. "You ready, Rodriguez?" "Yes, Drill Sergeant." Morrison studied her. "You've been holding back, haven't you?" Maya hesitated, then nodded. "Why?" "Didn't want to show everything at once. Wanted to learn. Wanted to see what I was up against." Morrison's expression was unreadable. "And now I'm ready to run." The drill sergeant nodded slowly. "Good. Because Garrett's been poisoning this unit against you. Half these recruits think women don't belong in combat roles because of you. Because you've struggled. Because you've barely kept up." She leaned closer. "You need to do more than pass that run, Rodriguez. You need to win it." "I will, Drill Sergeant. How fast can you really run 5 miles?" Maya met her eyes. "Fast enough." The morning of the PT test arrived with clear skies and perfect temperature. 55 degrees, no wind. Ideal running conditions. The test had 3 components: push-ups in 2 minutes, sit-ups in 2 minutes, then the 5-mile run. The entire unit assembled on the PT field at 0600. Drill Sergeant Kaler stood at the front with his clipboard. Morrison was beside him. And for the first time, the company commander was there too. Captain Hayes, a tall woman with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. "This is it," Kaler shouted. "Everything you've trained for comes down to today. Push-ups first. Get in position." Maya dropped into the front leaning rest. Her shoulders were still sore from the ruck march, but they'd hold. "Begin." She started pumping, up, down, perfect form. Chest to the ground every time. Her arms burned, shook, but she kept going. Time, 42 push-ups. Passing score, not amazing. But passing, Garrett did 71. He made sure everyone knew it. Sit-ups next. Maya's core was strong from years of running. She knocked out 68. Well above passing, Garrett did 84. Then came the run, 5 miles. Kaler announced, 40 minutes to pass. This is where I separate the runners from the joggers. Line up. The entire unit, 32 remaining recruits, assembled at the start line. The route was marked, a loop around the base. Exactly 5 miles. Maya stood near the back, bouncing slightly on her toes, shaking out her legs. Garrett positioned himself at the front, surrounded by his crew. He looked back once, caught Maya's eye, and mouthed, "Watch me." She just smiled. That seemed to confuse him. Captain Hayes held the starting pistol. "On your mark." Maya took a breath. This was it. Everything she'd trained for. Every mile she'd run alone in the Texas desert. Every morning she'd pushed herself when no one was watching. This was her moment. Set. Her heart rate slowed. Calm washed over her. She'd run 1,000 miles to get to this moment. One more 5-mile run. That's all this was. The pistol fired. The unit surged forward like a stampede. Garrett immediately pushed to the front, setting a brutal early pace. His crew followed. They were going to run hard from the start, trying to break everyone else's will. Maya started near the back of the pack, easy, relaxed, finding her rhythm. The first mile was chaos. Recruits fighting for position, elbows flying, everyone trying to prove themselves. Garrett led the pack through the first mile in 6 minutes 50 seconds. Insane pace, unsustainable for most. Several recruits were already breathing hard, struggling, but not Maya. She floated along in 10th place, breathing easy, legs loose. Mile 2. Garrett pushed even harder, trying to break everyone. His crew started to fall back, unable to maintain his pace. He came through mile 2 at 13 minutes 40 seconds. Still sub 7-minute pace, Maya came through at 14:10. Still in 8th place. Still breathing easy. Still waiting. Kaler stood at the mile marker with a stopwatch. His eyes widened slightly when he saw Maya's time. Morrison stood next to him, arms crossed, watching intently. Mile 3. This is where most runners fall apart. The adrenaline is gone. The fatigue sets in. The mind starts to break. Garrett was starting to labor. His form was getting sloppy. But he was too proud to slow down. He came through mile 3 at 20 minutes 30 seconds, still on pace for 35 minutes. But he was suffering. Maya came through at 21 flat. She was in 5th place now, and she hadn't started running yet. At the 3-mile mark, something changed. Maya's breathing shifted, deepened, her stride lengthened, her arms pumped harder. She'd been warming up for 3 miles. Now she was ready to run. She passed the 4th place runner like he was standing still. Then 3rd place. Then 2nd, now only Garrett was ahead of her. Mile 4. Garrett heard footsteps behind him. Close. Getting closer. He glanced back and saw her. Maya. The 5'2" girl everyone had mocked. The one who barely passed the ruck march. The one who wasn't supposed to be here, and she was gaining on him. His eyes went wide. He tried to speed up, pushed harder, but he had nothing left. He'd burned all his energy trying to set a record. Maya pulled alongside him. For a moment they ran side by side. Garrett's face was twisted in agony and disbelief. Maya's face was calm, focused. This was her pace, her element. She looked at him once, just once. Then she accelerated. It wasn't a sprint. It was a controlled increase in pace. Her legs turned over faster. Her breathing stayed rhythmic. She pulled ahead of Garrett like he was running through water. 10 feet, 20 feet, 30. Behind them, the rest of the unit watched in stunned silence. Holy. Chen breathed. She's destroying him. Garrett tried to respond, tried to match her pace, but his body was done, finished. He'd emptied the tank too early. Maya flew into the final mile alone. Far ahead of everyone. The last mile was a victory lap. She didn't ease up. Didn't coast. She ran it as hard as the first. The finish line came into view. Captain Hayes stood there with the stopwatch. Kaler and Morrison flanked her. Several other drill sergeants had gathered, hearing about the race. Maya's legs pumped, arms drove. She crossed the finish line at full speed. Captain Hayes clicked the stopwatch. Time 32 minutes, 18 seconds. Silence, complete silence, 32:18. That wasn't just passing. That wasn't just good. That was a base record. Maya slowed to a jog, then a walk. Her chest heaved, but she wasn't collapsed. Wasn't broken. She walked it off, hands on her hips, breathing hard but controlled. 60 seconds later, Garrett crossed the finish line. Time. 35 minutes, 52 seconds. He immediately bent over and vomited. His crew surrounded him, but he pushed them away, staring at Maya with a mixture of shock and something else. Respect. Maybe, or fear. One by one, the rest of the unit finished. Every single one of them stared at Maya like they'd never seen her before, because they hadn't. Not really. Captain Hayes walked over to Maya. Rodriguez, where did you learn to run like that? Been running since I was 7, ma'am. Every day. No coach, no team. Just me. What's your mile time? 4 minutes, 52 seconds, ma'am. Hayes's eyebrows shot up. That's collegiate level. Yes, ma'am. Why didn't you say anything? Why let them mock you? Maya was quiet for a moment. Then, because talk is cheap, ma'am. I wanted to show them, not tell them. Hayes smiled. Actually smiled. Well, you showed them. That's the fastest 5-mile time this unit has seen in 3 years. She paused. You're going to be a hell of a soldier, Rodriguez. Thank you, ma'am. The unit gathered for the final announcement. Kaler stood before them with his clipboard. The following recruits have passed the PT test and will graduate on Friday. He read 30 names. Maya's was among them. So was Garrett's. When formation was dismissed, Chen jogged over to Maya. That was insane. You've been sandbagging this whole time. Not sandbagging. Just waiting for the right moment. Garrett approached slowly. His crew hung back, uncertain. He stopped in front of Maya. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then he extended his hand. I was wrong about you, he said quietly. You earned your place here. Maya shook his hand. We all did. He nodded and walked away. It wasn't friendship, but it was acknowledgement. That night, Morrison found Maya sitting alone outside the barracks, staring at the stars. You know what you did today, Rodriguez? Passed the test, drill sergeant. No, you changed minds. Half this unit thought women couldn't hack it in combat roles. Now they know better, because of you. Maya was quiet. Morrison continued. There's going to be 100 more Garretts in your career, 1,000 more doubters, people who see your size and assume you're weak. I know, drill sergeant. Good. Let them doubt, then prove them wrong. Every single time I will. Morrison nodded and walked away. Friday came. Graduation day. 32 recruits stood in perfect formation, wearing their dress uniforms. Families filled the bleachers. Maya's father was there. He'd driven 18 hours from Texas. When he saw her standing at attention, shoulders back, eyes forward, a combat infantry badge waiting for her, he started crying. After the ceremony, he found her, Mija, he whispered, pulling her into a hug. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I doubted you. It's okay, Papa. No, it's not. You're stronger than I ever knew. Stronger than all of them. He pulled back, looked at her with wet eyes. I'm so proud of you, those words. The ones she'd been waiting her whole life to hear. Captain Hayes approached with a folder. Rodriguez, your orders. Maya opened it. Read the assignment, Fort Campbell. 101st Airborne. Air Assault School, the hardest school in the Army. She looked up at Hayes. Thank you, ma'am. Don't thank me. You earned it. Go make them eat their words, too. Maya smiled. Yes, ma'am. As she walked across the base that final evening, past the obstacle course and the PT field and the barracks that had been her home for 10 weeks, she thought about that first day, the mocking, the doubt, the prediction that she'd quit in 3 days. She'd proven them all wrong. Not with words, not with excuses, with heart, with grit. with 5 foot 2 inches of pure determination, and she was just getting started.